One of the biggest successes of Fallout 4 was undoubtedly its survival mode update. Fallout fans ate this up to the point where even today, nearly a decade after the game's original release, Fallout 4 players will still say that survival mode is the best way to play the game, and honestly I agree with that statement, especially if we're playing unmodded. So when a bunch of news started coming out for Starfield, a lot of people wondered if there would one day be a survival mode, or even a survival mode on launch. And over that year or so, I told you all that I didn't really think that Starfield would launch with a survival mode, but that I did think it was coming in the future, and I'm still of that opinion. A survival mode in Starfield would obviously be pretty awesome, actually giving us a reason to eat and drink all of the useless food and drink items in the game, maybe making planetary damages more lethal. Like, let's say you begin to take lung damage, maybe this hits your health bar every time you move until you manage to cure it, and really extreme stuff like that. Of course, this would also take away your ability to fast travel, making things like this more difficult to deal with, but that's just part of the fun of survival, right? Well, let's actually talk about some of the proof that this might come. One of the biggest pieces of quote-unquote evidence, as I would like to call it, was all the way back before Starfield launched, when Todd Howard was actually doing a podcast interview. They were discussing Starfield, and it basically came up how in an older build of Starfield we actually had to refuel our ships, meaning we literally had to go somewhere, buy fuel, and that fuel would eventually run out after long journeys, and if the fuel ran out we would get stranded on a planet and have to radio for help. But it was ultimately taken out of the base game because Bethesda didn't think it was fun and thought that it sort of slowed down the pace of the game, and honestly I think that this was the correct decision because it sounds awful for a regular Starfield playthrough, but it could be great for survival mode when you want to make your game hardcore. Now, one of the reasons why I would actually class this as evidence is because while discussing this, Todd Howard said that they might bring this mechanic back one day in the future in an update. And honestly, I don't see how they would randomly just put this in, because obviously most players have now gotten used to the system we have now. So unless it was in a new game mode, aka a survival mode, to me, this one interview already hints that Bethesda have indeed thought about different kinds of gameplay modes for Starfield. But the biggest reason why myself and a lot of other people think that a survival mode update will happen probably in the very near future is simply because of the success of Fallout 4 survival mode, like I said at the start of this video. Most Fallout 4 players will argue that survival mode is the best way to experience the game, and again I agree with that. It's loved that much. So of course it makes a whole lot of sense for Bethesda to want to add this system to their newest game and see how they can expand on it. Now for me personally, Fallout 4 survival mode did leave a lot to be desired, to say the least, despite how much I do still love it. When I do a survival run of Fallout 4, I usually mod in a lot of survival mechanics, such as needing to use gas masks often, and not getting hungry so quickly because you start starving after like 5 minutes. It's a bit ridiculous. And multiple companions, extreme weathers, and other mods like that. Which is another reason why I would love to see a survival mode for Starfield, just to see how much Bethesda improve upon Fallout 4's system. Of course, there's always the opposite side of this though, which is unfortunate. What if they gave us a survival mode for Starfield but somehow made it worse than that of Fallout 4's? I mean, I think most of us can agree that outpost building should have been improved upon in Fallout 4's settlement building, but somehow was made worse. Or we could take this update another route and say, what if they kicked off a survival mode update with a store? There have been hints and rumours of a Starfield store coming, much like Creation Club, and if you didn't know, survival mode for Skyrim was actually added in through Creation Club. So, meaning unless you actually got this update for free the first few days it was out, you had to pay for it. And I personally wouldn't mind paying for a survival mode as long as it wasn't overly charged and actually changed quite a lot of the game besides just, oh, now you need to drink and eat and sleep to level up, etc. But that is actually another feature I would really love to see in a survival mode for Starfield, needing to sleep to level up. I know it's like a really small thing, but I actually use mods for Skyrim and Fallout 4 that bring this into the normal game. I don't know why, but I just dislike being able to level up mid-combat and stuff. But this is definitely something players want. I'm constantly seeing people discuss this topic on Twitter and Reddit, and even in my own Discord and my comment section. You guys can join the Discord through the link in the pinned comment or description below, by the way, if you're interested. But honestly, there's a solid chance that a survival mode was supposed to release with the base game anyway, given how many mechanics are in the game already that seem to be built around survival mode. like all of the injuries and diseases we can get in the game, fuel, the amount of basically pointless food and drinking items, the infirmary hubs being kinda pointless, the sheer amount of helium-free buildings everywhere, and even farming and sort of raising animals is very survival, right? I personally think that one of the big changes that Bethesda would definitely need to change from Fallout 4 survival mode into a Starfield survival system is mostly just the sponginess of enemies. Like I said, don't get me wrong, I love survival mode in Fallout 4, but once you reach a certain point, basic raiders can take up to like 15 headshots, which is more ridiculous than anything else. So I'd personally like to see a more realistic damage changer for Starfield survival mode, rather than just a basic, oh, you do less damage and enemies have more health change. I think a good way around this would be spacesuits getting damaged, like your helmet can crack and you start to lose health if you get shot in the face and things like that. And of course the same thing would apply to enemies. But anyway, look, that's pretty much my thoughts on the topic. I don't want to long this video out, so let me know in the comments below what you would like to see in a Starfield survival mode, and do you even think that a survival mode update will happen in the future? You know I always love to read your theories, so if you did enjoy the video, I kindly ask that you leave it a like, and consider subscribing if you want to stay up to date on Starfield and pretty much all other Bethesda games. Lastly, as always, a huge massive thanks to our channel members. The support means everything, so thank you for sticking around, guys. But with that all said and done, I thank you all so much for watching, and I really hope to see you in the next one. Peace.